Welcome to the 41 game edition of Sharing Sox. I'm Southside Sox duty geezer Leigh Allan. With me, my son, and just for another week, I guess, downtown Chicago correspondent Will. It's last week in the Cherry Orchard at the Goodman Theater. We were going to have with us our old buddy, I was going to call him our old buddy Rob Coletti, but the legendary Berto from the West Side, but apparently he cracked a rib at the gym. And if he's cracked a rib, he can't crack jokes. So
It's true. It's true.
He won't be on with us. You want to, one thing I was going to say in introducing him was he could do a 7-minute rant without breathing because he's a trained professional. If people try it at home, they'll die. But you're not as trained on the breathing as he is because you're not a musical theater guy. So you don't do production numbers and sing. But you're a trained professional actor. You should be able to do, I don't know, 5 minutes without breathing.
I think with that losing streak we had, I could have done about 45 minutes without breathing. I think any ounce of training I've ever had would have floated into my body and I would have reached a new potential that I never have had before because that losing streak was so painful to sit through.
It
So
was.
painful to sit through.
We should say we're recording this on Monday morning, so April is gone. We've got all the April history here. We're into May, and the Sox
And currently
losing
on a
streak
winning streak. We're
on
currently
a
on a
winning
winning
streak.
streak. So I
Winning
should
streak that
clarify.
happened, and Will was performing at the time, so he couldn't see Sunday's game with the big 7-run comeback in the ninth, which was really, and the Sox took advantage of it. It's not like they didn't unwrap the present they were given. Kevin Cash gave them the game by putting in two really bad left-handed relievers in the ninth inning with a 4-run lead. Had they actually, and that's an interesting thing in baseball. If you have a 3-run lead in the ninth, you bring in your closer. If you have a 4-run lead, you go to the dregs. I'm
Yeah,
not sure. I'm not sure why that is
it's that
exactly.
fourth run, man. That fourth run. You can't, in baseball, you can't score 4 runs on one play. Oh, wait, you can. The grand slam. So, yeah, I have no idea. Here's my theory behind it, though, is that these guys got to pitch sometime. And you're playing the White Sox. If I had a 4-run lead in the ninth against this White Sox team and this streak, I'd feel fine throwing the third base coach out there.
I wasn't surprised that Beeks came out to start the ninth. It was just horrible and couldn't find the plate. So his choice was to be 2 feet off the plate, one direction or another, or throw it straight down the middle. And he did those things. But I was really surprised that after 3 batters, he wasn't out. He was still in for a while. And then they went to their Clevenger, who was also a lefty, which the White Sox hit lefties. I think the word is out. and,
Yeah,
and they
in
had a
fact
righty
I
in the
believe
pen. They
it's
had
the
a
only
lefty
word
and
that's out.
a righty in the pen. I don't know who the righty was, but he had to be better. They didn't opt for him. I don't. It
It's
was like he was saying,
possible.
we're 5,000 games over 500. Let's give these poor guys a break. They look so sad.
Kevin Cash is such a good manager, and the Rays are so freaking good that I think maybe he was just like, we got to lose sometime, guys. And let's just do it tonight, end the weekend. We'll go into Monday. We'll start a new winning streak. You got to humble your team when they're that good from time to time. So maybe Kevin Cash was low key, playing the mental games with his own club to get them pumped when they're playing real baseball teams. Yeah, those choices are bizarre. But like I said, you're playing this White Sox team, which is on an ungodly losing streak. Maybe you thought you could give these lefties who aren't very good some confidence by letting them come in and close out a game. Didn't happen, didn't work out for them. But who knows what they were thinking? But I can't judge any decision you put up against this lineup right now.
However, it really improved the outlook. the computers liked it. So 538 now has moved the White Sox projection up to 71 and 91
Wow.
with a 4% chance of winning the division and 6% chance of making it into the playoffs at all. They predict them to be 18 games behind the Twins at the end of
Wow.
the season. And they're only halfway there now. They're 9 games back now, so they've gotten a
Nine
lot of it out of the
games.
way.
It's May 1st, and we're 9 games back, everybody.
And
How about that?
Cleveland absolutely stinks, and we're 5.5 games behind them, 3 behind Detroit. But now, thanks to the big comeback, 1 ahead of the Royals.
Oh,
But
thank
still,
goodness.
they have the worst run differential of any team in the majors, except the one that's not even pretending to play, Oakland. That it's. I mean, we're 28th in defensive runs saved, so that's normal. And the start of the season, the defense was good. Remember, we were all talking about, hey, the defense is a lot better. It's just gone back to its normal self. Pitching 29th in ERA, 29th in walks. Of course, Oakland is the one that's worse. And then, they're hitting the same kind of thing, 29th in taking walks. It's just insane how bad the team has been. But let us look forward. Tim is back, theoretically. We're Minnesota series coming up. Tim Anderson back, and Tim's very important. I mean, Tim is really important, although he can't do better than Adam Hazley did Sunday, going 4 for 5.
True.
In the leadoff slot. He can't do better than that. But Tim being back is big. And also getting back Hanser Alberto. So we have our closer.
Yep, true.
In there until Liam Hendricks comes back, maybe by late May. And that's an interesting thing. Let's talk about that. Tim's back, and Alberto's back. Alberto has been in the majors for 6 or 7 years, so there are no option years. You cannot send him to Charlotte. Well, you can, but then he gets to say, no, I'm a free agent.
Yeah.
So in essence, you're just DFAing. Who do you quit? I personally, I know who I get rid of. Well, you don't get rid of, you send him to Charlotte. But
who are you sending?
Romy.
Of course.
Romy,
of course.
Did you see any video of Romy's play yesterday?
No, I didn't.
He was in left field. He came in. It was a sequence of somebody pinch hitting and pinch running or whatever. So he was in and playing left field, and a routine fly ball bounced off the heel of his glove. And that's why Tampa Bay had 9 runs. So it's like we were giving them the game, and then maybe that's why Cash was so generous to say, well, we can't take a present without giving one back. But
look, I like
Romy has proven he's not stats.
Romy. I like Romy. Seems like a really nice guy, but he's not a Major League Baseball player.
He's got a -9. Did you know you could have a minus OPS plus? He's got
I did not know that.
-9 OPS plus. And remember, he was given a triple this week because when their right fielder threw in a 47 mile an hour, he got a triple, his only extra base hit of the year. And that was to the opposite field. So he had a 47 mile an hour pitch that could only get it to the opposite field, but it played off. Romy's got to go, and Romy really should just let go. He's never going to be a major leaguer. And I would say Lenny Sosa also goes. Sosa's just been horrible.
I mean, I think right now, if you don't send down Romy and Sosa, you're not serious about trying to get on track. Because it's possible that these veterans will help you get on track. It's not possible that Sosa and Gonzalez will get you on track. I still think there's a world where Sosa could be okay.
I think Sosa may be a future major leaguer. But we talked about they're going to bring a Sosa. He's not ready. He hasn't had enough time. Last year, he was scared to death when he came up. He said he needs time. He needs time in Charlotte. He needs to get ready and get more close to major league type pitching. But they didn't. They brought him up immediately instead, which didn't work out. That means keeping Adam Hazley. The guy's hitting like 800, at least for a while. He becomes your backup outfielder. Alberto becomes your backup infielder. Tim goes to short. Really, Tim should go to second, and Elvis should stay at short, but that's not going to happen. So Tim goes to short. Elvis goes to second. Elvis starting to hit a little now. He was really, really bad. And then he's starting to hit some. Uh, and yeah, he goes to second. Alberto plays anywhere in the infield, and I think he can actually play corner outfield if he has to. Uh, Hazley becomes your backup outfielder. There is a problem that two of your outfielders now are lefties, and so is he. Uh, but I think you still do it. Even if he becomes your fill in for Luis, Luis is kind of day to day, I guess. We accused him of loafing. Maybe he was loafing. Maybe he was actually had a hammy problem. Uh, Either
That's
way,
what he claimed, but I love Luis Robert Jr. That was really hard to watch. That was really disappointing to watch. And I read his whole spiel about why it was happening. But I mean, on that play, you have to know that you're gonna be safe if you run hard. You're a pro baseball player, you have elite speed. He comes out of the box fast and then just doesn't run. And I don't know. I benefit
what
of
would
the
have would have easily been a hit if he was running because it's one of
yeah.
those dribblers to the left side that nobody can get to kind of thing.
And it really looked like he put on the brakes early. It didn't look like he came out
Which
timid,
is
but
typical actually of pulling a hammy. I mean,
yeah,
we've
it
seen
is.
plenty of our
But
guys just suddenly stop going down to first, but it didn't have that same vision to it. Plus,
yeah,
and then he did the thing he did, and again, he has this potential to be the best players in all of the major leagues. But that thing he pulled with Eloy, uh, was it the day before or 2 days before, where first of all they're kind of both together in right center, and I don't think he called for the ball. And Eloy's there, obviously waving his hands. You can see his mouth, so he's shouting, and Luis takes it from him. Okay, that was between the two of them. These things happen. But the next one, Eloy is sitting there in regular right field, probably didn't take 2 steps to get to the ball, sitting there poised, calling. Eloy's very good about that. He should be. He keeps running into people. He needs to warn them.
yeah,
And Luis came right over in front of him and grabbed the ball. And that was simply done to humiliate him.
yeah,
And that's really out of line. So what's in his head? And of course, last year he disappeared. Last part of it was injuries, but there were times when he was not, as far as we know, injured, and he was just dogging it in center field. Now he's not been doing
yeah.
that. He's been playing an incredible center field, but
But he
it's
has also been
strange,
playing an
strange head case.
incredible. He's been playing an incredible left field and right field, and we do technically have guys there. So he's playing a weird. It's kind of like half of him is trying to be the guy who gets this team out of this by doing everything, and half of him is not trying to do anything correctly at all. And it's really hard to tell, what exactly we're seeing Luis Robert Jr. do right now. I hope it's just because of this humiliating streak that they were on that people were just sort of acting out of character. But you are a Major League Baseball player. When you're losing a lot of games, you should actually be focused on how the team can work together to win the next game. And
Now, there's
I'm
something to consider here, though.
sure.
Remember, excuse me, his jersey is different now because it used to just say Robert, and now it says Robert Jr. Are those 2 extra letters weighing him down? Got to consider that.
That's a really, really good point. I mean, most people
Hmm.
don't know this listening to the podcast, but each of those letters weighs 27 pounds. They have not figured out how to make those jerseys lighter. No, I don't think the letters are a key factor, but they could be. Not ruling it out. Not saying no to the geezer's theory here. Um, but it's just been such a bizarrely terrible streak. I saw actually, Berto from the West Side sent me a stat comparison the other day that when we were 7-20, which was a couple days ago, uh, our stats were worse than the 2018 Orioles team when they were 7-20, a famously tanking team. Who their rebuild is going how a rebuild should go currently, but we are actually putting up worse stats than the 2018 Orioles at this point in the season. which
Now bear in
is
mind, if we
wild.
keep the same winning percentage that we now have after ending the streak on Sunday, we now, instead of only winning about 38 games, now we're on pace to win 45.
Not bad.
So
Not
breaking out.
bad. Things are
And
looking up.
we've got all the excuse. We've got the injuries excuse, which we've used for every team has injuries. I'd say right now in our division, we're probably better off than anybody. Minnesota's already lost 2 starting pitchers.
Yeah.
And that's much bigger loss than having an outfielder go. Cleveland's got all kinds of problems. They're missing bunches of starting pitchers too, although they always have 45 more of them ready to come up, but they're not there
Right.
yet. Where was I? I was going. Oh, and the other thing is strength of schedule, which was, yes, it was an extremely hard schedule. The one really soft spot turns out to be the team with the best record in the National League, the amazing Pirates,
Right.
who are unreal. They're the un-White Sox this year. I have always been an Andrew McCutchen fan. Just
Always.
from the time he came
Always.
up. I just think he's a fabulous baseball player and guy and everything else. And he comes back to Pittsburgh, and all of a sudden, they're not the dregs of the world anymore.
Comes back to Pittsburgh, and they lose their star. They lose their star, and the Pirates have lost like twice since then. I mean, it's unbelievable. Andrew McCutchen is, I know we're a White Sox podcast, but I'm going to love on Andrew McCutchen right now for a second too. Andrew McCutchen is the lifeblood of Pittsburgh. It was such a brilliant move to bring him back with all these young guys who they are in this. I mean, we thought this was another tanking season for them as part of their rebuild. They're doing the rebuild pretty well. And then they have a big injury, but because you have Andrew McCutchen to show all these guys, your season's not over because one guy gets hurt. This is a team game. We're seeing the Pirates. Do I think it's going to hold up? Absolutely not. There's no world where when your number 2 is Vince Velasquez that you can actually be a great baseball team. But it is amazing to watch. I'm rooting for them. I would love to see them win the Central because of what they're doing right now. It won't last. But that being said, McCutchen is the kind of guy that can really transform a team and make them better. There are very few guys like that. And it's not just because of how skilled they are at baseball. It's because of their intangibles. It's because of what they are off the field, what they are in preparation, their work ethic, their attitude. And right now, the White Sox are embodying the opposite of the Andrew McCutchen attitude. And they have to find that. They have to find that kind of, that oomph, that drive, that wanting to be on the diamond, wanting to win baseball games, wanting to prop up these young guys and show them what it's like to be a professional. We don't have that right now. Jose was always that guy for us. Jose Abreu was always that guy for us, whether it worked or not, but he was always there. He was always doing it. The guy tried to play every day, just like McCutchen tries to, even though McCutchen's 57 years old. And we need that kind of energy from somebody moving forward. I think it's got to be Tim. But Tim is always hurt. It doesn't seem like he's quite in that same mindset. I hope he comes back. I hope he comes back tomorrow. I hope he's firing on all cylinders. I hope he's ready to turn this team around. I'm actually going to brave the weather tomorrow night and go to the ball game. It's going to be.
You're violating our rule?
No, because I called the White Sox and asked for free tickets. I'm taking 15 people on cheap beer night. I called the White Sox. I asked for free tickets. They said no, so I bought them on StubHub. So we're not giving them the $12 beer price, and I didn't pay them for the tickets. So the cast of the Cherry Orchard will be there on Tuesday night. The real theater people will be.
It's going to be almost 40 degrees too, so you should be nice and warm.
If we're lucky. We got to take our break here, though. And when we come back, we'll talk about what we have coming up for the White Sox and maybe dive into this pitching that has been – you said they're 29th in the majors in ERA. I know that ERA is a stat that some people don't care that much about, but you should.
But I think ERA matters when you're doing a team-wide thing. And
Exactly.
any given individual, especially a relief pitcher, it may be almost meaningless. but team wide with such a huge sample size, I think it's meaningful.
Exactly. So hang in there and we will be right back on Sharing Sox. Welcome back to Sharing Sox. We talked about the good and the bad from the previous couple weeks. Spoiler alert, it was all bad. But let's talk about moving forward. So we have a chance to right the ship this week. We are hosting the Twins. The Twins have a 9-game lead. This is an opportunity for the Chicago White Sox to get back on track. With Anderson potentially coming back, hopefully Luis is back on the field after his injury / punishment. And we got Kopech going on the mound on Tuesday against a struggling Kenta Maeda. And
Was Maeda pitching? I thought he was, he's back, supposed to pitch.
Oh, the last I had checked, he was the starter for the game, but that could be wrong.
Let me see on an update. I thought Maeda was hurt again.
Okay, yeah.
Or not recovered, but let's see.
Certainly possible. No, it's going to be Ryan. It's going to be Ryan.
And Ryan is very good.
So, we've got these 3 against Minnesota. Then we're going to go to Cincinnati, which is essentially a half baseball team. They're okay. And then we're going to go to Kansas City, which is Oakland plus, for 4 games. Then it gets a little bit more realistic with Houston and Cleveland, but this is an opportunity to right the ship. You've had this horrible streak, and now you're going to play 10 games, 3 of them hard against Minnesota. I'll grant you that, but these are the 3 big ones. This is your division team, and you're home. You've got to win these games. You're throwing Kopech, Cease, and Giolito against the Twins at home. You need to sweep this series. No 2 out of 3. Certainly no 1 out of 3. This is one you need to sweep. Then you need to go to Cincinnati. You got Lynn, Voldemort, and Kopech again. And then you go to Kansas City with Cease, Giolito, and Lynn, and then Voldemort again. But those are all games you need to win. In these next 10 games, we need to win 8. We need to win 8 of them. If you can't take this chunk of your season and right the ship now, then it is kind of looking like a lost cause for the rest of the year. But this is a great opportunity to right the ship. And if our starting pitchers can get on track, which they have been anything but, except for Lynn, who took a no-hitter into the 7th.
Well, Giolito, I think, Giolito's been the best of the 5 easily.
For sure.
On a consistent basis. Lynn was really, really good, and then really, really fell apart in the 7th. Probably let him pitch an inning too many, but you don't take him out when he's got the no-hitter going. I understand that. But the starting, and the further problem is the starting pitchers, as we know, because we have such incredible inefficiency, have gone over 100 pitches by the 6th inning, sometimes by the 5th. So then in comes the bullpen, which is horrible. And apparently Raylo, they took him out yesterday, mid-inning, mid-batter. So he's going to have tests. We may be missing him. He had been really, really good at the start of the season and really, really bad for the last week or during the losing streak.
The bullpen is, if you were saying, Will, you have to panic about something for this year. A bad losing streak early on does not mean your season's over. But if you were to say what does mean your season's over, Will, I would say it's this bullpen. We don't have starting pitchers who can get past the 5th. And so we got to bring out these guys who are just, it is meat and potatoes for these teams to face this bullpen right now. I don't know what you do about it. Fortunately, I was able to watch some video of Hendricks pitching on a mound a couple days ago, and he looked good. I couldn't tell to what extent he looked good exactly, but he looked strong. He looked really healthy. For a guy who just finished chemo a couple minutes ago, incredible that we're talking about having him back in May, potentially at the worst in early June. Can Hendricks come in and save this, steer us in a different direction here. Well, he can only do so much because he's going to pitch 1 inning. He's maybe going to pitch 1 1/3 on a
Yeah,
rare
the
occasion.
game has to get to him.
The game has to get to Hendricks. And right now, we don't really have anyone who can get the game to Hendricks. If our starters do all turn around, and if Giolito continues being good, well, we need to start putting up 10 runs. We have to be putting up 10 runs before we get to the bullpen because there's just it's batting practice. That's all it is. Kelly is he
Kelly
can't
had a
pitch.
good inning. Had a good inning the other day, but one inning does not.
Yeah, we all have a
make.
good inning, and Graveman hasn't looked like Graveman at all.
No, he's been
Bummer
awful.
has been terrible. It's not a major league bullpen. It's not at all.
Let's we were talking about who goes down when Tim and Hanser come up. And of course, Hanser's also a pitcher, so that's our Shohei Ohtani. We've got 2 relievers coming in: Garrett Crochet and Liam Hendricks. One, the obvious star. One could be a star. Certainly could be better than what we've had out there. Who do you send down? Now, Jimmy Lambert had been the best guy in the bullpen. His last 2 times out, I think he's given up 127 runs.
Yeah.
Who goes down? Of the lefties, Crochet, I would presume with Crochet, I think you send Diekman and you keep Bummer, but then you've got, I don't know. One of them has to go. And then somebody else, probably Lambert.
I think what I do is I send Aaron Bummer and hope, because I have no hope that Jake Diekman's going to be
Bummer's
good.
been around long enough. I don't think he's got any options. So
well, then you can't send Bummer. There you go.
So if you send Bummer or Diekman, they may declare free agency. There, that's their.
Well,
option.
then let's send Diekman.
Let's
send Diekman and just hope that someone else snatches him, because I'm fine with Jake Diekman never pitching again for the Chicago White Sox. Aaron Bummer, I don't know why, but I still want him to be good.
Yeah, I mean, he's got that slider that's so incredible. If only he could put it somewhere around home plate.
Exactly. He's got talent. He's got pitches, but Diekman just doesn't. I mean, Diekman is just a guy you put out there when you're down by 15 or you're up by 30. And 30 is not even safe, I don't think, with Diekman on the mound. I get rid of Diekman. Who knows? I want to get rid of all of them. This question's impossible. You've given me an impossible question to answer. That's not fair. I'm your co-host. You're supposed to lob up some softballs for me. I don't even know exactly what you do in this scenario. I think you don't let go of Bummer quite yet. I know the fan base is just completely over Bummer and disgusted by Bummer, but because he does have a pitch that can work, I think you hold on to him. Now, we don't have a pitching coach that I believe can get anyone to do anything right at this current time. But I think you get rid of Diekman. I
haven't turned on Ethan Katz yet. I haven't.
Good for you.
I'm ready to.
What a kind, gentle soul you are. Because the Ethan Katz thing, I was talking to a guy in the cast, and I was like, we need to fire them all. We need to fire everybody. And he was like, well, you're only 25 games into the season. You want to get rid of everyone. I'm like, my sample size, fellow, is not 25 games. My sample size is now years. And with the exception of Grafal, I'm fine with keeping Grafal a little longer. I don't think we've seen Grafal have a fair shake. But the guys who have been around, and to go with our boy Berto from the West Side, starts with Hahn and Williams, and then I think leaks down, and you let Ethan Katz go. Ethan Katz might be a good pitching coach somewhere else. It's not working for the White Sox. It's so kind of you to want to keep him. I do not. I don't have faith in a coaching staff that can turn these pitchers around. I really don't. What we are seeing from them is so bad. It's so fundamentally bad The pitching is so terrible. As you said before, we have an ERA that's 29th as a team. 29th. We are ahead of the Oakland Athletics, who are trying to leave their city. They're trying to be so bad that no one can possibly love them. That is what we are better than right now. And that's the only team we are better than right now when it comes to pitching. There's no excuse for that.
Or run differential, incidentally.
Or run differential. I mean, I don't want to get into the whole Ethan Katz argument right now, but when is we did this last time. When is the experiment over? For me, it's over already. For you, you're the scientist in the lab watching it go wrong, but you're saying maybe we will discover the cure for cancer. We'll get lucky. Maybe something will happen. I don't think it's going to happen. Unfortunately.
Of course, when you talk about things not happening, Rick Hahn's latest was during the streak, close to the end of the streak. There he goes. Well, it's my fault. It's one of those. I'll fall on my sword. I'm the big brave guy. I'll fall on my sword. I'll do that. But he had said a few months ago, if it's my fault, we're doing things right. If I'm responsible, then I'll resign. Well, now he comes and goes, I'm responsible. Where's the resignation? I haven't seen it.
Yeah.
And what we've got is a fan base, hundreds of thousands of people of varying degrees, some ardent and some casual, waiting for Jerry Reinsdorf to die. And I've been thinking about it. He's a billionaire, not because of he only owns 20% or less of the White Sox and with the Bulls, but between them and all of his many, many real estate holdings, he's worth about $2 billion. He really can afford to pay the tax, or have his heirs pay the taxes if he sells the team. But do you want to go out? He's 87. Do you want to go out knowing on your deathbed that tens of thousands, at least maybe hundreds of thousands of people are just hoping you die?
Well, that's a little dark
you're not
for
Vladimir
me.
Putin going in and killing other people, so we hope you die. But not wanting to kill you, understand, but just hoping you'll just kind of die.
I'm going to go with a lighter take and just hope that he finds something within him to actually sell this team. Keep in mind, if they sell this team, they're going to make a profit of billions of dollars. Sports franchises right now are so inflated. If you are going to sell a sports franchise, right now is the time to do it. Right now is when you want to do it, because ever since that move with the Clippers, and that guy was like, I'm going to buy the Clippers for $2 billion in the NBA, that changed everything. That changed everything. We've seen, a good example is you've seen the Golden State Warriors go from being worth $400 million 10 years ago to being worth $6 billion now. The Yankees are now evaluated at over $7 billion. The Royals are evaluated at over $2 billion. That's the Royals. They play in Kansas City, Missouri. If you're going to sell a baseball team, right now is the time to do it. You can be so much more rich than you were when you had the team right now, Jerry. You could be swimming in money. You could fill your entire house with $100 bills and just wade through it for the rest of your life. Like Scrooge McDuck. Jerry, you are such a Scrooge McDuck anyway. Follow that path. Follow the Scrooge McDuck destiny and sell this team. Swim in your money. Let someone else have a chance, someone who likes baseball, someone who likes fans, someone who cares about winning, who cares about joy, who cares about fun, who cares about people getting to enjoy the time when they're not doing their awful 9-to-5s, and they've chosen to spend time with your business to give them joy and give them that release from the daily grind. Just let it happen, buddy. Just let it happen. Give us something so that someone with some gall can take over this team, fire Hahn, fire Williams, because as you said, Hans said if he fell on his sword, he'd go. He fell on his sword and he's staying because he's a gutless man. And just sell it. Just sell it. I will never wish death upon anyone. I wish you to be richer, Jerry. I wish you to be so rich you don't know what to do with all of it. But as Berto from the West Side said, a guy who wouldn't pay Scottie Pippen what he's worth is never going to do good by the fans. And that is exactly what it's going to be until Reinsdorf meets his demise or decides to sell the team. That's all the time we have for today. Do you have any final thoughts?
I timed that. I thought you were trying to beat Berto's 7 minutes without breathing, but you didn't quite make it. I'm sorry. You're not a legend.
I don't have 7 minutes of things to say about this club right now. Maybe next week I'll have a full 7 minutes to say. But do you have any final thoughts before we head into this 10-game must-win scenario?
Well, I'm headed out of the country by the end of the week. So I think we should try to get winning. You'll be in Los Angeles. I'll be in Madrid for a week, and then later on Dublin for a week.
There's a time difference there.
So I'll be like 9 or 10 hours ahead of. Well, it works out though, because we used to do it at 10 o'clock in the morning your time when you were in LA. If we did that, and that'd be like 8 in the evening for me. So it'd be after dinner for me.
In Spain, that's when you should be starting to sit down for your paella.
No, you're not sitting down for dinner yet to Spain. You're having a pre-dinner drinking tapa.
That's true. That's a good point.
But we're not going to last to do that, I guarantee you. So we'll be having snacks in our little apartment.
Well, we will do our best next week to come at you.
I'll have a phone with me. I won't have a computer with me, but I'll have a phone. I've got Zoom on my phone. We should try one time.
An international version? Heck yeah. Huh? I'm in. Yeah. Let's take this thing to Europe. Let's get the White Sox fan base expanding in Spain. FC Barcelona, Real Madrid, screw them. Let's bring them on the White Sox bandwagon. We'll hit you internationally next week if we can. If not, I'll try to find a co-host who's equally as old and equally as incorrect about things involving Ethan Katz. And we will catch you next time on Sharing Sox.